The bright studio lights of Good Morning America flickered softly as the opening music faded, and millions of viewers settled in with their coffee, expecting another polished, uplifting morning segment. Tyler Perry's name flashed across the screen, accompanied by a montage of his films, stage productions, and philanthropic work. The audience anticipated charm, wisdom, and perhaps a few laughs. What no one expected was tension, thick, uncomfortable tension that would soon ripple through the studio and across social media. Tyler Perry walked onto the set with his trademark calm confidence, dressed sharply but simply, projecting the image of a man who had nothing to prove. Michael Strahan, the former NFL star turned television host, greeted him with a broad smile and firm handshake. At first glance, everything appeared routine. The pleasantries were exchanged, and the opening remarks praised Perry's career, his influence in Hollywood, and his latest project. But beneath the surface, something felt different. From the very first question, Strahan's tone carried a subtle edge. He asked about Perry's creative control and his long-standing practice of writing, directing, and producing his projects himself. It was framed as curiosity, but there was an undertone that suggested skepticism. Some critics, Strahan began carefully, say that having so much control can limit collaboration. Do you think that approach holds your work back at times? The smile on Perry's face tightened, not gone, but strained. He paused, choosing his words with precision. He spoke about independence, about owning one's voice in an industry that often marginalizes black creators, and about building something from the ground up without waiting for permission. His answer was measured, thoughtful, and met with polite nods. Yet the atmosphere in the studio shifted. Strahan leaned forward, pushing slightly harder. He referenced past criticisms of Perry's work, claims that his films relied on familiar formulas or that they didn't appeal to critics, despite their box office success. "You've been incredibly successful financially," Strahan said, "but do reviews and critical reception matter to you at all?" This time, Perry didn't immediately respond. He glanced briefly off camera, then back at Strahan. When he spoke, his voice remained calm, but there was steel behind it. "Of course they matter," Perry said. "But I don't make movies for critics. I make them for people who see themselves on screen for the first time." The audience applauded lightly, sensing a moment of truth. For a brief second, it seemed the tension might ease. But instead, the conversation dug deeper. Strahan shifted gears, bringing up Perry's enormous studio complex in Atlanta, hailed by many as a symbol of black excellence and self-made success. He asked whether Perry felt pressure to be a spokesperson, a leader, or even a gatekeeper in the entertainment industry. With that level of influence, Strahan asked, "Do you think there's a responsibility to open doors differently, to change the system rather than working outside of it?" That question landed differently. Perry sat back in his chair, his expression hardening. He explained that he had spent decades trying to work within the system before realizing it wasn't designed to work for him, or people who looked like him. He spoke passionately about building alternatives, about creating opportunities where none existed. "I didn't shut any doors," Perry said. "I built new ones." The studio grew quiet. What was meant to be a morning interview now felt like an ideological debate. The producers backstage exchanged uneasy glances, sensing the moment slipping beyond their control. Strahan, perhaps unaware of how close the conversation was to boiling over, pressed on once more. "Some would argue," he said, "that avoiding traditional Hollywood structures can isolate you creatively. Do you worry about that?" That was the tipping point. Perry exhaled slowly, removed his microphone, and placed it neatly on the table beside him. The movement was deliberate, unmistakable. Gasps rippled through the audience as cameras scrambled to adjust. "I've answered this question in 100 different ways for 100 different people," Perry said quietly. "At some point, it stops being curiosity and starts being judgment." Strahan's smile faded. "That's not my intention," he replied quickly. "I'm just asking." But Perry stood up. "With respect," Perry interrupted, "this conversation feels less about my work and more about questioning my right to do it my way." For a moment, no one spoke. The silence was deafening. Viewers at home leaned closer to their screens, stunned by what they were witnessing live. Strahan attempted to recover, assuring Perry that the questions came from a place of interest, not criticism. But the damage was done. Perry shook his head slowly, the weight of years of similar conversations clearly etched across his face. "I've spent my life explaining myself," he said. "Today, I'm choosing not to." And with that, Tyler Perry turned and walked off the Good Morning America set. Cameras lingered awkwardly on the empty chair as the host scrambled to fill the void. Strahan looked visibly shaken, offering a quick apology to viewers and tossing to a commercial break. Within minutes, clips of the walk-off flooded social media, igniting fierce debate. Was Tyler Perry justified in leaving? Did Michael Strahan cross a line? Or was this a clash of perspectives that exposed a deeper divide in how success, creativity, and power are judged? As the show returned from commercial, the tension was still palpable, but Tyler Perry was gone. And the question lingering in the air was clear. What just happened wasn't just an interview gone wrong. It was a moment that challenged how conversations with powerful black creators are framed in mainstream media. P.